We have quite a collection of panelists here. We have Alex from Cloudflare. We have Chris from Debora. And then we have Grish from Sprinto. So let's get into it. Gentlemen, why don't you start with around a quick 1-minute introduction about yourself, and then what are you doing in the startup space?
Yeah. Can you guys hear me back there? All right, awesome. So I'm Alex Mailbranch. I run startups, venture capital, and accelerators at Cloudflare. I previously was at GitHub running startups as well. I worked in both big tech at like Amazon, AWS, also growth stage startups as well. I was a venture-backed founder in travel technology about 6 years ago or so. So I've seen a lot of the problems from a lot of different perspectives and have failed a lot along the way. So I have a lot to talk about. Thank you.
There's a lot of stripes on that tiger. Yeah. All right, Chris.
Hey, what's up, everyone? I'm Christopher Martin. I lead the startups program and startup ecosystem partnerships at Debora. I spent over half a decade as a venture capitalist, actually, prior to moving back over to the operating side. I've been operating in the fintech space for half a decade prior to being a VC. And Debora, we're an AI-native operating system that can unify your support workflows, your product development workflows, and your client relationship management workflows. With proprietary technology that can ingest all of the infrastructure, structured data across an organization, pull it into a robust context-aware knowledge graph, and powers agentic workflows, as well as semantic search, and powerful predictive analytics. So again, yeah, a lot of different perspectives as well, both from the investor and operating side. So yeah, looking forward to the panel.
Hey everyone, my name is Grish. I'm the co-founder and CEO of a company called Sprinto. At Sprinto, we help other startups who are compliant with security and privacy frameworks like STAK, etc. We have about 3,000 customers today, and I think I work with pretty much each and every of our first 1,000 customers and trying to understand what compliance looks like. So I've had some experience helping companies go through their first insight data and how that works. Personally, I'm a developer and engineer first, at least when I'm writing code and I typically don't get to do that as much as I'd like these days. Yeah, happy to chat about what does it mean to close the insight data and what are some of the things that you will face along the way.
All right, Grish, why don't you eat the mic? So let's start with you as far as how do you define noise in the startup space, especially this really noisy AI era?
Yeah, AI is everywhere. And I think one of the things that that's quite tempting to say is that AI is going to disrupt everything. And I think there's some truth to that. But I think that everything will pinch of salt. And while we all focus on what's going to change because of AI, it's also like some of the best founders that I've met are the ones who also have an eye for what's not going to change. So there are some things that will remain constant, and then you can basically build a better vision for what you're really building with your business and a better vision for the future. So I think if I describe in terms of noise, yes, it's lip service to just say that AI is going to discuss everything. I think we'll all agree that that's a multiple statement. What's also useful to understand is what it will not change, and there are some fundamentals of whatever space you're building in, whatever domain you're building in. That's the signal to look for.
All right, Chris. So you have two hats. You can see it from the startup side. You worked on the investor side of the table. How do you tell signal and noise?
I'd say from the investor side of the equation, it used to take a lot of ChatGPT wrapper pitches, right, across industry verticals and industries. A lot of them is on that, in terms of that. Looking more for folks that, just throwing out a few examples of some folks that are, driving value within the frame of enterprises current workflows. So you're not necessarily asking them to, disrupt or dispense from the job, right? Kind of a shameless plug for Debora, but For example, right, we act as an integration layer. We can come in and replace some of your applications, right? Whether it's, you know, your intercombination, that's almost just fine. But at the end of the day, the core element of our value proposition, you know, is our knowledge graphing capabilities. Again, our robust marketplace of STAK and integration doesn't exist, right? So we can come in and add value without necessarily like disrupting the workflows. I think that's a good signal, right? If you are building something that not only drives value, right, but doesn't annoy your enterprise clients, right, in terms of the implementation, like displacement work. That's something I think, you know, generally can provide.
Alex, you had a more concise definition of between signal and noise.
Yeah, I mean, noise can be a lot of things, but the one that I mentioned is valuation. A lot of us that are building and that we see AI fill in the blank company, and now it's worth $6 billion and it's been around for 6 months.
Calculate that, right?
Who knows? And they don't make any money. They have no customers. I'm not really sure how it gets there. In fact, not yet. I haven't gotten it yet. I was actually reading an article this morning as I flew in, and I think it's the Forbes 100 launch today or something like that. And there's a future section in there of like the fastest or best 50 companies right now. And someone had made a comment to the fact that over half of those ones, collectively, they're worth $6 billion, something like that. And it raised somewhere in that same area. But half of those companies aren't profitable, and half of those companies don't have any or a limited amount of customers. Unfortunately, I don't have the numbers around you. But that is what we're defining as success. Non-profitable, non-customer companies.
It's a dream, man.
It is a dream, right? So as a founder, as a builder right now, that can be distracting. Like, all right, well, how do I build one of these very lucrative, non-value additive in terms of customers, companies, where I can be a millionaire? Like, I'm trying to figure that out. And that is very distracting as well.
Just wait for the down rounds.
From the startup's perspective, how do they stand out with all this stuff?
For me, and maybe this is, I hate to say it because I was a founder like 6 years ago, but I feel a little get off my line. But it's focusing on customers. It's like you can stand out if you are one of those, I guess, not too many companies that have
Paying customers, by the way.
hey, thank you, trial customers, and then saying this projects out to 50 million ARR. Not my vibe, but you can still get a check from that. This is not my vibe. But if you've got companies like one of the startups that were up here, she said that she has 50K ARR. That might sound like not a big deal when people are throwing out $10 million ARR, but those are customers. Be proud of those customers. That's how you stand out.
Right.
You're solving problems that people are willing to pay for. Like, that is a big deal. And if you want to stand out, to me, because I angel invest as well, to me, you can have all the cool stuff. There are a lot of cool, really smart people out there, but can you get people to buy it? That's my question.
So customer logos, Chris.
I was gonna just add, like, you know, there's nothing wrong, I mean, even at the early stages, you know, with balancing growth with, you know, unit economics, right? Gross margin dynamics, making sure that you're actually like running an efficient and profitable and scalable company. It sounds simple, but it's not followed off.
Grish, you're a startup yourself. How do you stand out?
I think, I'm a little bit forceful about this. And there are some old startups that don't change. It is fundamentally, in spite of all the hype and the new tech, and that seems to change them in the business. Levels were hot, and then it was reinforcement one, and a lot of times I don't know what it's going to make now. There's new technology every day. There's a new hype cycle. And there's obviously all the distracting news about funding and valuations and whatnot. I think there are two things that I've seen some of the best founders focus on. One is just focus on the use case and the customer and try and find something that's just repeatable. And then maybe it involves doing things that don't scale. very popular thing that all the hell about doing in companies do. But yeah, just putting your heads down and instituting on that is probably the most useful thing to do right now.
All right, thank you. So Chris, you had we were talking and you mentioned when we were talking about like from the startup standpoint, how do we know what to build? Like, how about we just start with what are the non-negotiables in your product that obviously it has to have AI something nowadays, right? But what other things that should founders think about?
In terms of like the product specifically, or just like building out like the company in general.
Product or the team. Just what are the non-negotiables that startups should think about in their early stages?
Yeah, I mean, you need to be AI first. I mean, again, that sounds pretty obvious, but if you are not, prioritizing, AI in your tech stack, you're not taking things like, prompt engineering seriously in your workflow that you mix. I think that's a pretty easy one. To scale out, like in terms of non-negotiables with building a company, I think a lot of the innovations in AI and how they're impacting how startups, are built and run and scale. You need more by way of cross-functional leaders, right? Not that you don't need, industry or domain expertise, especially in terms of like your founding teams, your initial executive hires, right? But given how much more that you can accomplish, these days, in terms of leveraging AI tools, you're going to need Swiss Army knife folks that are not afraid to, wear many hats, change the hats they're wearing, by the hour, by the day, right? It's a new environment out there. So I think those are the top two things.
Alex, you had to think about process here.
I did, but I want to hop on something that he just said. And I think there's an important distinction that needs to be made around having your company be AI native or using AI, and how are you using AI to empower your users? There are a lot of people that a part of their pitch is, hey, we have AI, and their way of landing the plane, so to speak, is making a connection of a company or service we currently use, and then just saying an AI powered version of. You're not really communicating to me an effective way that you're solving a problem. If you're just saying AI is a part of the solution, tell me how AI is being leveraged to prop up me, the individual user, or if it's a B2B company, that team or this problem. I need to know how AI is empowering the person using it. There are a lot of people that don't understand AI fundamentally, and they need to be empowered with that technology without necessarily having a lot of knowledge on what it is or how to use it. So that's the part that I'm really interested in. And if you're a founder and you're telling that story and you're building, that needs to be a part of your thought process. How is my AI empowering my user?
Grish, you have anything to add there?
Again, boring stuff, but I think one of the things that we, as much as we say, but it's really important still is that I really think one of the things that's non-negotiable for founders, especially, is to understand their domain really well. And I'll give a couple of examples that I've seen out in the field. I know, for example, this one founder who sells in the insurance space, and he literally sold door-to-door insurance to understand the space well. Now, I don't think anybody in his competition set understands his domain as well as he does. His customer is basically a broker, an insurance broker, and he understands the space better than anyone else. I'll bet on this guy. I just met somebody here who was in technical writing space, and she's been a technical writer before, and I bet on them to basically understand the space better. So I think some of these old groups still value are still important, and I say just knowing your customer better than the customer at times is like a huge alcohol. And you should really invest in it.
Revenue, customers, right? Process. It still kind of comes down to the blocking and tackling, right? And then so let's go now forward into the enterprise journey. You guys seem maybe startups, right? How do you know they're enterprise ready or maybe not? Who wants to jump in on that? Chris, I'm gonna prompt you. Single player cool to multiplayer critical. What's that about?
No, so what I was trying to, and for context, in our pre-discussion, I answered this, somewhat of an analogy in terms of like the difference between being, a cool single player game and being, deeply ingrained in an enterprise in terms of being like, you need to have multiplayer game, right? When, multiple, divisions within an organization's workflows, depend on your tool and your platform, right? As opposed to, it being a nice to have, right? An additive in more of a idiosyncratic fashion, as opposed to a critical, piece, of your enterprise structure, the glue in the central nervous system, right? Again, shameless plugging Debora, for example, we, help folks better integrate customer support workflows into their product and development process, right? So in doing that, by leveraging our knowledge graphing capabilities, we glue two pieces, right, of an organization together in a way that our competitors don't, and it's hard to rip that away, right? So just to elaborate on that.
And then in Grish here, we had a note that, because you're definitely selling to enterprise with the compliance platform, right? What was the aha moment when you first landed your first big enterprise logo?
When I first read this in my previous startup, I think I remember thinking that hey, this is doable. This isn't, until you actually cross the hump, it feels very insurmountable.
Getting your first date.
Yeah,
Hey, it's not that hard.
exactly. But then you learn some of the rules of the game. And to your earlier question about what does it mean to be enterprise ready, you learn very quickly that enterprises are first and foremost risk averse. And you need to basically project that you are a trustable, credible partner that they can work with. They don't want to work with a fly-by-night operator. And there's a bunch of signals that they look for in the startup that they work with in order to establish that. Right? It could be just the way you are thinking about data security and privacy, about compliance. It could be about just the buying process that they have, and the whole rituals and the song and dance that happens over there. You need to get comfortable with that. And that's when you really become enterprise ready in terms of, not just in terms of your offering, but just matching their buying process. And I think in part what you're trying to say, understand there's some multi-stakeholder kind of a game. It's not like one person is going to push you across the bar. You need to sort of understand that game and just be able to dance with it.
One big topic, and I think this is important for everybody to know here, the way that enterprise is buying AI right now, it's definitely changing, right? Because it's not these long sales process with incumbents. If anything, the incumbents actually has a negative connotation here because they're looking for AI startups. On the Ignite side, we do these CXO roadshows for certain verticals, right? And we have one coming up in Chicago where JP Morgan, Charles Schwab, Blue Cross, large regulatory companies, and all of them are working with AI startups. So do you guys have any thoughts as far as like jumping into that enterprise window? It's open now, but you got to be ready, right?
Yeah, so what you just said, a lot of enterprise companies are utilizing like what they would call small innovation teams to, hey, you guys are going to be our guinea pigs for all things AI. This team of 10 people. And so one, it's about understanding, going back to something earlier I said, understanding how your AI, your company helps to empower the people that are working on it, because now you're not going through the long 10-month or 18-month sales cycle of now meeting with the engineering team, talking to the CISO, talking to the executives, trying to make it make sense to everybody. Now you're trying to make it make sense to the people that are trying to use it. And so if you can make it make sense to the people that are trying to use it and how you're going to be able to define, their success on the platform, those small adoption teams are much more willing to give it a try. And then they are the internal champions and advocates to push it alongside you for a larger enterprise POC.
That's a great point. Even though these windows are now open earlier, you still got to have your stuff together. You got to have your story together. You got to have your CX game down. You got to have your compliance certifications done, right? And I think you guys are really carrying that narrative and building that bridge not only from where you are but for the startups that it's growing, and they have to grow up fast. Yeah. How about a quick round disaster or close call around enterprise sales compliance for Grish?
Again, I seem to be saying the same thing again, but finally in my previous startup, I almost lost a six-figure deal simply because I was trying to push the can down the road of WAT compliance, which at the time cost me about $25,000. Very close call. Like we just got it in just in time. I wish, in hindsight, of course, that I had gotten and done that earlier. But yeah, lesson learned.
All right. Now, we're on the home stretch here, but let's start like pivoting this into just insights and advice that we can share, right? How do we avoid the innovation leader trap? Who wants to take that?
Can you define innovation theater for people that probably wouldn't understand what you're talking about?
That's just AI everything. Hype, a little substance. Thank you. That should be clarified. So then how do we avoid that? Because you can get excited about your product. You can get excited about the technology. But what happens is the true value sometimes gets lost in that excitement, right? Any advice for the founders here on that?
This is the VC answer, but I mean, if you can tie everything to metrics, it's probably not theater, right? You know, if it's actually driving reductions in customer acquisition costs, you know, better reflection rates, things along those lines.
To build on that, and I was just having this conversation before this, AI is as much about, if not more about, individual psychology than it is about technology. If you're wanting to use AI in the ways in which they're being pushed upon us, like autonomous, they are taking these things off my plate, I don't have to do them anymore. What you're trying to do is really understand how your brain processes information, and then you're trying to replicate it so that something else can do that for you. So if you don't understand why you think the way that you do, the process for which you do it, you know, how you come to those conclusions, you won't be able to use a plethora of tools that will be able to imitate that in order to put it in a workflow that works for you. So understand yourself and your process as much so that you're not seeing all the tools and being, wow, that looks cool. That looks great. I want to use that. Well, it might look cool for someone that thinks that way, but if you don't think that way, you're going to be trying to use it and clunky, and I don't understand why it's working this way. It's because it's not for you.
Good point. Advice for founders trying to get that first big enterprise logo.
I'd say you don't necessarily have to target the Fortune 100 right away, right? You know, be scrappy. I mean, even targeting, you know, an early customer profile that maybe, you know, looks a lot like, you know, what your ICP at scale would look like. Gain those initial learnings, right? You know, integrate those back into, you know, your initial go-to-market strategy and optimize around that, right? Again, it sounds simple, but you have a lot of folks that jump into big conversations way too early when, again, you know, they could have been a little scrappier up front and landed those contracts, you know, in the medium and long term.
Grish, you had a thought about, you know, when it comes to that, don't worry about the one logo, but it's about the shots on goal. You want to expand on that?
Yeah, no, I think going after the enterprise is Darwinian. What I mean by that is if you're going to sort of earmark one logo and go after it and think of it like mammoth killing, you're likely going to not succeed. The better thing to do is like have a fight always. Like you should be taking as many shots as possible. And the nature of enterprise sales is that hopefully one of them has the right timing, the right team, the right budget, the right internal mandate, like Alex was saying, which sort of pushes your deal through. So your chances are best if you basically have multiple shots at it, rather than just treating it like, hey, I really like this enterprise account and I want to just close it no matter what. That it might work in some cases, but I think what founders find most useful is to just, you're targeting about 10 accounts and hopefully one of them converts.
That's a good point. How about let's shift to go-to-market, right? Because everybody needs to go to market, right? So what's some advice if you were a founder today and you're trying to move up to the enterprise side, and we'll talk about how to get that first logo, but what other go-to-market things do the founders need to be aware of?
It's about your customer. It's not about you.
I think going back to what I mentioned about being scrappy at the early stages, just understanding that the initial go-to-market, you know, tactics that you may apply early on may not be scalable, but the idea is to, you know, generate learnings, right, and insights that you can parlay into what may be scalable down the road. So I mean, again, being scrappy with things like, you know, field events, right, leveraging product-led growth flywheels, right. Again, just being scrappy until you can cement what will and will not be scalable, and find that right timing to lean into those things. Yeah.
What I usually found useful is to start with your ICP. Like, let's say you're selling to a certain person. I'm just going to pick one. Let's say your customer is the CIO, and then work backwards from how are they making or discovering tools in your space? How are they making buying decisions? Where do they hang out? When they have a problem, who do they ask? What's the network that they go to? What publications they follow, etc., etc. So you need to find a way from who your eventual buyer is, and then basically work backward from there to derive your GTM rather than pick one beforehand, because then it's kind of like saying that, hey, I want to do whaling, but I have a fish net. It may not work. So I always like to start from your ICP and then work backwards to what GTM might work well for them.
That's a good point. That's a good point. Okay, let's land this plane. So let's think about 2026, right? Or let's just project ahead 1 year. What's going to separate the successful companies versus just the hype? You guys each have some thoughts on this. Or you did.
I think the thing that's going to separate people in a year's time is ruthless prioritization. There are a lot of things that are going to take your attention. There are a lot of reasons why it might be interesting to put one thing down and pick another thing up. It's your job as the founder, the person that is meant to be the SME of this industry that you're building for, to know what things are shiny and leave them and what things are important.
This is more, I guess, less of like what will separate individual companies and more like a thematic separation, if that makes sense, of categories of companies. But I feel like I've been hearing a lot of doom and gloom about the potential for vertical AI. I was listening to 20 VC episode. I think it was Byron Dieter from Bessemer that was on. Harry asked him, with AI these days, I mean, is it the end of vertical SaaS? And again, it's another one of those things where there are cycles over time, right? I think we're going to see, the service titans, the toasts of, this AI era emerge. Perhaps 2026, maybe a little later. I'm excited to see, what happens in terms of, what AI can do with regards to like multi-agent orchestration in, physical world applications or in healthcare, or in financial technology. It feels like, the horizontal players are dominating right now, even in specific verticals. But I think you're going to start to see that separating, and excited to see who rises to the top.
Honestly, if I knew the answer, I would be a VC, which I'm not.
He's looking for the answer. It's up.
I don't know if I can answer that for a group of founders, but personally, I feel like something I mentioned before. I think founders who understand that domain better than most and just have like an insane execution capability. Part of it amounts to what Alex mentioned about prioritizing well, picking the battles you fight, but just insane execution. Once you know where you want to get to,
Ruthless, right?
yes, just completely ruthless in that.
That's awesome. All right, I think before we break, I think
Hold on, Bill. I know we're going to land the plane, but can I say something that's really important?
yeah,
Like 30 seconds.
it's 29.
29. Two things that I want to mention that I think are really important. There are a lot of different looking founders in this room, female founders, black founders, brown founders. You all need to understand that even though it looks like we're playing the same sport, it's a different sport. So you need to approach it, whatever you're building, however you're interacting, however you're networking, differently than the person next to you. Because even though we don't want to talk about it, it is a real thing. So please make sure you're aware of, as a founder that looks like me doing what I'm doing, what do I need to do in order to be successful? That's number one. Number two, the thing that all of us have that we can't get away from is our mental health. And if you don't take care of your mental health, you could have the best company a year from now, and you will not make it past a year from now. So make sure you're being in tune with what your body is saying, what your mind is saying, and you're actually feeding that, because no matter how many times you think it's okay to push through, you will stop.
All right. Until James comes up here and takes the mic from me, we can take questions. Is there any questions from the audience? James.
James, we're gonna keep going, James.
All right. You know what? I really want to expand. Oh, we got 5 more minutes. Okay. I really like this topic, and we're gonna go impromptu. We're talking about mental health, right? So I realized myself, the pace of work has been insane this past year, right? The amount of problems that we have to solve now with the assistance of AI, it just seems like you just kind of create this treadmill for yourself, right? So you have really good advice here about founders understanding not only their approach and their, strategy into this and protecting mental health. Chris and Grish, do you guys have any words of wisdom on that one? Breathe a lot, sleep well.
I was literally going to say, it seems like simple advice, but sleep. Seriously. I run into founders all the time, and it's almost like a badge of honor, like, oh, I'm averaging like 4 hours of sleep this week, just shipping product, landing client, customer, and all that stuff. It's not sustainable, it's not scalable, it's not what's best for you. I played football at a Division I level in college, and I kid you not, like, you can't not sleep 10 hours a day. Like, it is paramount, right? Whether you're, an athlete, you're a founder, which I would consider a different type of athlete, frankly. You need to sleep, you need to scale that out again to other, better practices.
I think there's also a visual of people thinking, well, I'm not sleeping because like I've got all these things to do, and like other people like, man, you're crazy for not sleeping. And for us, we're like, we actually enjoy this, so it's okay that I'm not sleeping. Like, it's 2:00 because I'm having so much fun enjoying this. That doesn't make it any different that you're not getting sleep. So for those that are like, man, I'm not sleeping because I'm enjoying this so much, and it's totally fine. I'm so happy. That does not matter. So it does. If your thought process is, oh, it's those people that are forcing themselves to stay up just to do it, those are the people that have to worry. I'm up at 2 a.m. because I love solving problems. That's fantastic. Go to bed.
And you know what? I am a big proponent of sleep as well. It's just kind of the fountain of youth, the only one that exists that comes close, right? And then Grish, you've done this is not your first rodeo. This is your second or third startup, right? But you look calm and smiling. What's your secrets?
I don't have any secrets, and honestly, I've done every mistake in the book. I was just smiling broadly when Alex and Chris were mentioning about mental health and sleep. I think anything I say here will be extremely hypocritical because I've been guilty of not sleeping enough and not necessarily being in the calmest self myself. So yeah, I honestly don't know an answer to that.
You look great, buddy. You look great.
Thanks.
All right, everybody, give it up for our panelists.